Thank you. We should be ready to go. My brain's just gonna take a bit to go.
I'm glad I'm not the only one feeling like that today.
Yep.
No motivation.
Wait, the fuck?
We've been driving around, singing songs way too loud because we wanna. Picking up our love friends, fill up the car till it bends because we wanna. Yeah, we just wanna have fun. The trunk's full of wine. We're gonna stay up, have the time of our lives. The night is young, don't need anybody else. We came to party all night long, and we don't need no chaperone. We don't need nobody's attention, yeah, we just wanna dance on our own. We came to party all night long, and sing along to every song. We don't need nobody's attention, don't need nobody else in our zone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another weekly episode of the Prismatic Dragonfly Tavern. Sorry, we're getting a bit of a late start today. Feeling a bit slow here in Reno. DM struggling with dysphoria, which is, something that is good to talk about, especially in Pride Month with our amazing Pride fame and all that stuff. But we're here, and we'll be jumping into tonight's story here in just a moment, picking up right where we left off from last week. But first of all, quick reminder, if you haven't heard our spiel or the car horn outside. If you haven't heard the spiel or anything like that yet, RageCon is coming up here in Northern Nevada, in Sparks, Nevada, happening June 30th through July 2nd. And it is a massive TTRPG, board game, card game, bit of LARPing, I think, panels, etc. Awesome expo. It's been going on for 8 years. We've gone for quite a few of those. And this year, Mythical Family is not only going to have a booth there, we're going to be running a couple panels, and a bunch of our individual members are going to be running games that you can sign up for, too, with a RageCon badge. Because the way that RageCon works is you get a badge for 1, 2, or 3 of the days, and then you can go on to their online system on tabletop.events, and you can sign up for games that people are running. You want to sign up and play a Cyberpunk one-shot, because if you've never done that before, you can do that. Except I think Joe's game's filled up, so you'd have to look for somebody else. But there's a lot of cool things out there. So it's coming up here really soon, closer by the day. And we're going to be there, and we have some great friends from, one of our sister channels, which is Andromeda Adventures. They run some really awesome stream called Andara the Second on Thursdays at 6:30 p.m. PST. And they're working on some other ones, just like we are as well. And a bunch of them are going to be down here to hang out with us. So if that sounds like it's up your alley and you're in the Northern Nevada area or don't mind traveling to the Northern Nevada area, then I highly recommend that you check out RageCon and come say hi to us and play in some of our games. Though I do think playing specifically with ours might be a little tough right now. I just checked recently, and I want to say almost all of ours are full. I think Joe's are all full. I know Jillian's are all full.
So, it's not right now.
For the dungeon, add some seats.
I don't know. Did Joe save you a spot?
Joe, did you save me a spot?
For what?
Cyberpunk?
I'm game with you anytime. I'm meeting people there.
Yeah, I didn't get one either. I meant to message you on Discord, and if you saw a deleted message from me, it was me saying, Ray, you gonna go to Cyberpunk and Joe? And then I saw it was full, and I was like, well, neither of us are going. So
We'll have Dragon Age together.
yes, to see if I'm probably going to run Dragon Age. I kind of want to run Cyberpunk now, though, because I got to scratch that itch. But anyway, RageCon, RageCon.com. check it out if you're interested. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and jump into tonight's episode, and we're going to pick up right where we left off last week, where we had just had an interesting, heartfelt family reunion, because Vander, after looking for how many years has it been at this point? Since you were separated?
Well, I don't think I was ever asked. A good while. At least 10 years.
At least 10 years, yeah. Close to 11, I think, at this point, based on the numbers that we originally talked about. So, Vander just found his mother after searching, his adopted mother, after searching for close to 11 years. They managed to track her down to a farm that she owns in the Akorah Hills, the Quandir Hills, the hills of Quandir. And they just found the farm where they harvest and roast and prepare the multitude of different teas that her family produces. And they had just found her top of the stairs, half the elf, you remember, pun intended, because half of her body had been seemingly plate replaced and fused with similar like porcelain that makes up your arms. So everything split pretty much equally down the middle almost. It's a jagged seam, but head, arm, hand, leg, everything on one side appears to be porcelain from what you can see, including the eye, which is now a sort of purple gem to match her natural purple eye on the other side. And you had rushed up the stairs and hesitated, and then she grabbed your arm and pulled you into a big hug to embrace you. And that's where we left off, with Vander finally getting to track down Aerith after all these years. And the rest of the party, plus Skalea, is standing down at the bottom of this massive set of stairs that kind of lead up to the main entrance of the main house here on Ralohana Farm. It's not a hard word to say, but her last name is Ralohana. And there we go, Ralohana Farm. So, she embraces you, squeezes you with superhuman strength, way harder than she ever could before, pulls back and looks up at you, and you get a really good look at the familiar facial features and the beautiful porcelain work features on this side that almost seamlessly try and match every bit of her face despite the jarring bright white of it. And she looks very sad for some reason as she stares up at you and doesn't immediately rush to say anything. Do you do anything?
He's definitely smiling ear to ear, but at the moment that he sees that she looks really solemn, he'll shift, be confused.
Mm-hmm.
Are you okay?
The voice that you end up hearing is reminiscent of Aerith's original voice, but it definitely seems like whatever happened to cause this sort of injury and then the repairs, it seems to have added a metallic tinge to it, almost, one that I probably can't do with my voice, but she does have a bit of a golem / mechanical like tinge in the back of her voice when she speaks.
Kind of flanging effect.
Yeah, exactly. And she looks up at you and goes, I really wish you hadn't shown up right now.
What, is this a bad time? I'm sorry.
No, it's... Are you traveling with friends?
I am. They're over there. He'll gesture.
Bow politely.
Sick just waves, like, excitedly with Cass. Trusted friends?
I would say so. They're the ones that actually got me this far.
You should invite them in for a cup of tea, then.
He will immediately start waiting furiously at you all.
It's gone well.
Seems like it.
Heading on up?
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, Sick follows, and moments later, all three of you crest the top of the stairs, and Aerith turns around, or kind of moves past Vander, and makes a point to try and shake everybody's hand, and give him just like a nod of welcome kind of thing, and then gestures for everybody to follow her inside. The two big kind of oak doors on the main house were already swung open when she had come out, so you guys can just walk in following her. And inside, this seems like a building that has been here for easily 100 years. It's been very well kept. It's furnished in the way that like a multi-generational family dwelling would be, with tons of art on the walls. Feels very lived in a very good way. Has a massive kitchen off in the back. Has a giant kind of living room that you're walking into now after a small entryway, and looks like it has about 3 floors above. And there's a winding kind of wooden staircase off in one corner that leads up that way. And she walks in, and you see a couple different servants standing around, and you notice these servants are wearing somewhat similar draped cloth to her, but they are all made of porcelain and look like golems. And she walks over to one and whispers something, and it bows and walks off into the kitchen and begins to prepare tea. And she gestures to a selection of couches and different chairs for everybody to sit in that kind of form an oval in the living room. And she stays very close to Vander through all of this, and eventually goes to sit on one of the larger couches, gesturing Vander to come over.
He immediately does.
Roll a perception check. Nat 1? Oh.
Oh, honey.
Oh,
I'm very
baby.
blind.
Baby
He's
boy.
so excited.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. So yeah, you just go sit down on the couch next to her, and she kind of waits for everybody to mostly find their seats. And even though there's a group, she looks at Vander specifically and addresses you. How are you?
I'm so happy right now.
I'm glad. You've most likely been looking for me for a long time, haven't you?
Yes. It
Did-
took a few years to get going after looking around from the note you left, but eventually I set out.
Did you ever run into a bounty hunter or anyone else looking for you that we sent? Bounty hunter sounds harsh, but that's, you know what I mean. We were trying to find you too.
Really? I can't say I have.
Yes, for a decent amount of time now. We've employed different individuals to see if they could track you down unsuccessfully.
I did hear that there was an assassination attempt on my royal family's name in Treetop.
Yes, we had sort of given up hope almost that you were taken out by the same individuals that went after your family.
So that's a thing that did happen.
It did happen, yes. It wasn't us. We were looking for you this whole time.
Thank you.
But as far as we know, your family is the kindest thing that we could say is missing in action, but we believe they have been confirmed dead at this point. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I regret their deaths, but in the end, they weren't really family to me.
I know it's still unfortunate and horrible news, but we had assumed, based on the reports, that you were caught up by the same individuals, not at Treetop, most likely, but if they were after your family, they would have put significant resources into tracking you down and killing you. So we never truly gave up hope or stopped, but we had assumed the worst at this point.
Well, I'm glad to not be dead.
I am glad that you are not dead either. And at that moment, the porcelain servant returns with a very beautiful tea set that is made of kind of teal and silver and gold and little pink stamped flowers, and sets it on the table in the middle of the room and serves everybody a cup of it. And it's a matching set of a cup and a plate, and on the plate there's pretty much everything that you could want kind of around the cup, different sorts of sugars and honeys, and even a little container of milk so you can make the tea the way that you would like. She ignores it as it's being handed out. There's no easy way to tell you this, so I'm going to just come out and say it so we can have a productive conversation. I'm not your mom, really.
Oh, I know that.
No, not like that. I'm not. The consciousness inhabiting this body right now is not Aerith.
What?
As I said, there's no really good way to say it. Aerith is alive. I am not Aerith. There was an incident where myself and Aerith were in combat, you could say. We were fighting for our lives, and due to a magical phenomena, we were split/combined.
I'm not a very magical individual. So then, who are you?
I am her. Well, am still one of her most trusted creations. My name's Fulmar. When it happened, we were made into this, mirrors of each other, two beings combined, and my consciousness chose for some reason to reside in this half and hers in the other. She, of course, looks like me, but mirrored. We don't know why one consciousness chose the other when they were split down the middle. Logic dictates one of us should have died or something, but we were.
Does not respond to logic well.
No, it does not. And this was a portal that did this to us. It was a portal and a multitude of magic that we didn't truly understand at the time, but I didn't want to give you false happiness or hope.
I wouldn't say it's not false. She is technically there. She just has an extra passenger.
I suppose you could say that. There are echoes of her consciousness sometimes, as she says there's echoes of mine. At least when we last saw her. The things that I'm sure that you're asking right now, and feel free to ask any questions that you want, but the things I'm sure you're wondering that would be burning in my head are, where is Aerith? And why did this happen, I suppose, but I'm sure much higher on your priority list at this point is, why did she leave you? Aerith has been a tea maker her entire life. Technically, that's what the family business is. But she was always more of an inventor. And even though she had responsibilities, you in this case, she still had to answer to the family. And the family ended up having a emergency that she had to leave for, and it wasn't any kind of emergency. And she expected to return to you shortly after. But about a month or so after she left you, this happened. And we have not seen her since. I know where she is, roughly, but where she is not somewhere we've been able to retrieve her as of yet.
Where is she in?
She's on the other side of the portal that did this, and the energy that was required, you might be surprised once you find out what a tea-making family had their fingers involved in. You'd think it would be less grand, the amount of trouble that they could find themselves in. It was a portal to the Feywild.
Well, that's not too terrible.
Yes and no. The methods that were used to create it were not moral. And it was quite powerful. And she was called upon by her family due to her technical expertise, not to mention she's good in a fight, but more so her technical expertise. Myself, her, and some of the other family members and constructs, we went and tried to achieve our mission, which was dealing with a specific Fey Lord that the family had a debt to. And they figured if they could use this portal to get the drop on the Fey, they would be able to escape a lifelong contract that a great ancestor had made that was causing the current family and farm quite a lot of harm. You can probably see this was a horrible idea, even from while you're sitting, but the family was convinced, and Aerith was behooving to them even if she didn't want to be, and she didn't want to leave you, but she didn't want to drag you down with her. If the plan blew up in her face, which she didn't want you to be part of it. Which is still a shitty reason to leave someone and not fully tell them why, but I'm sure that you can understand on some level, even if it hurts.
I'd say so. I mean, I'm just glad to know why.
That's why, as painful as it might be, I wanted to give you as much information as I could up front.
Well, thank you. Is there anything I could do to help?
Well, the portal, we ended up fighting the Feylord, and as you can assume, that didn't go very well for us, even with our magics and constructs in the family and Aerith. It's still dealing with the Fae mostly on their own ground, which wasn't a good idea. Complications aside, it was a pitched battle. We killed some, they killed some, but in the end, the portal was the base of the portal, the magical runes and mechanism that was creating it were damaged and ended up exploding. And we were near the event horizon of the portal, and we were split and combined. Last thing that I remember is seeing your mother on the other side, and the two of us had 30, 60 seconds, something like that, to talk as the portal was collapsing. We couldn't get through even then, but there was enough of it left to talk. And we spoke, and then it closed. And we've tried a lot of different things to open it since then, but have been unsuccessful. Once in a while, we will get a message from her, though.
What does she say in the messages? Or how do you get messages across?
Once in a while, she's able to get something akin to ascending through to me. One or two family members said they've heard a message, but it's never been coherent. I think we might have a specific bond that lets her reach me in certain circumstances. I don't think it actually is a sending spell, but she sometimes can reach out in dreams and lets us know that she's alive, she survived, she's lived off the land and made an existence for herself in the Feywild, not thankfully having need to make contracts or deals yet, which is impressive given the length of time that she's been there. And she's been working with us to try and find a way back, but the Feywild is a complicated place.
This is a lot.
I know. And seeing your face run up those stairs and then looking down at me broke my heart, because I know how happy you were in that moment, and I don't want to make you sad, which I've now done.
I mean,
But I know. But I wish you could have just seen Aerith. Here. She is alive, though. She asks about you every dream, and I have kept her up to date on our efforts to locate you. So whenever she does contact me through a dream again, I'm sure she will be deeply sad and overjoyed at the same time.
I suppose it makes two of us.
Yes. But we still haven't given up at all. It's complicated and we don't have much resources these days. The farm is profitable by far, but because of everything that was lost and suffered during that battle / the fallout from the Fae, her family has all but been wiped out at this point. So the farm is mostly run with a few dedicated staff, me running it, and then a lot of us constructs at this point. And we're sort of stretched thin, trying to keep things afloat. And not many of us have the skills that are needed to work on the portal. And there's not many that we would ask about to help us with it. Not many that we trust, at least.
I'm no magical expert. I could try and help.
If you would like, I'd be happy to show, well, I'm not sure if happy's the right emotion that you would use in this sense, but I would show you where the event took place. It's beneath the house, so it's not far.
Do you want to?
We could possibly help with this situation.
It's worth a look.
We are becoming experts with runes after all.
They know more magic than I do, so.
I don't know much myself either. I know theory. I can't cast or anything like that, but theory is quite fascinating. But yes, I can take you down and show you if you want to see it now.
Okay. That might be a good idea, yes.
All right. And she stands and leads you guys over to the staircase, and once you approach the staircase, you see that you can actually it goes both ways, and there is a basement here, and you can kind of wind down the staircase, and you go down to a lower floor that seems like a basement, mostly storage. Seems like there's a lot of just dried tea, wine, other things down here. She leads you through this, which takes a few minutes just to weave through all of it to the other end, and then opens a set of iron doors on the other side that has a lock that she has to fuss with for a second, and then walks through into a large room that just has a staircase that leads down, a big, wide, long staircase, like one that you would see on a shipping receiving dock sort of thing. And you all walk down it for about a minute or two in silence, hearing footsteps echo, and you notice that she has a very distinct kind of clunk step because of the one porcelain foot. And eventually lights flicker into existence at the bottom from torches on the walls, and you see a large shattered stone dais and a wall that has a massive burn mark on it that to this day is still pulsing a weird kind of bluish orange. The room is pretty clinical. Other than that, it's probably been cleaned up, multiple times. There's a couple seats in the room that are really out of place. Like there's a wood rocker in a corner and a couple other chairs that must have been brought down from the house at some point. And it's both impressive and not at the same time, given the gravity of what most likely occurred here a very long time ago. So as it kind of comes into view, she gestures at it and gestures with a wave and then shrugs helplessly almost and goes, you can ask me what questions you want. I have all the data of everything that we've ever done here, but this is the site.
I imagine we probably got some introductions like on the way down, but yeah. Sonny's like immediately looking around.
She actually hasn't asked for anybody's name and has been like oddly focused on Banner. So beyond shaking your hands, no, there haven't been introductions unless somebody like approaches her or says something, because she hasn't done anything for whatever reason.
Well, in that case, my name is Sonny. I'm one of the Vander's companions.
Oh, sorry, protocol is not part of the part of me that had social etiquette and protocol must be on the other side. I tend to forget things like that.
It is fine. I just wanted to make sure you knew who I was before we
No,
started speaking.
I appreciate it, Fulmar, as I think I said it earlier.
You did. I was just curious what you could tell us about how all of this with the family and the Fae came to be. Who was the Lord? Do you know how they came to be bound together?
I do not, because it was a great uncle that ended up making the original deal, as far as we're able to trace back, and it has become sort of a family secret since then. It's a classic tale of trading a lot of different things that he shouldn't have for success. There's a reason that the farm has always done so well, and Valhalla in general is known worldwide for its tea exports, and it's because this uncle in question gave a Fae his firstborn, and after that, every firstborn the family had, and would have for 20 generations, I believe it was.
That's quite some time.
It is a very long time. The family became fed up with this and did not finally reach someone of some worth that did not want to give into such a deal, and thus began the urge to fight back.
Now, you mentioned that there was a specific lord. Do you know any of the identification or names it wears?
I believe the name that it went by was Iliarano. Ili. They called him Lord Ili. It was a playful thing that he liked. I believe the formal name was Iliarana or something like that. It's been a long time. He was very thin, very sprightly, about 7, 8 feet tall, unnaturally slender, and wore dark blues and reds. Some sort of trickster, member of the Fae Court, as far as I know.
Let's see. I'm just going to take a look around for a few minutes, if you don't mind.
Feel free. There's nothing you can really break at this point after everything that we've done to it. There's obviously still latent magic through the runes, but whatever the Fae Lord did to bring down the connection during the battle when he damaged the dais seems to be thorough, to say the least.
Quite.
But yes, feel free to look around.
Cool. And then Sonya's probably going to go start with where there's still magic actively burning to see if...
Yep.
If there's nothing over there that's interesting, she can at least kind of learn what that energy is and how to look around it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when she walks over to the wall, the cold blue and like bright orange have a very faint movement to them, very small pulse. Definitely feels like some sort of like latent magic has just been burned into the area, which is pretty impressive. Makes you think kind of the amount of magic that, you'd have to dump into a thunder pad or something else, because magic typically doesn't last scarring the land like that. It doesn't do it with thunder pads either, but they at least, the ground's kind of hot afterwards for a while, after someone uses them. So maybe something similar, but go ahead and make an Arcana check and you can inspect the area.
22.
22? So just kind of taking some time to investigate it, waving your hands over to kind of feel the weave and stuff like that. It's immediately obvious that this magic is... all magic is connected through the weave, but Fey magic, especially something coming from another plane, is its own distinct flavor. Mm-hmm. And the weave of Akorah and the weave of the Feywild definitely are joined at this point, and the weaves aren't happy about it. And it's like they're tied together through some twisting, knotting way, and they want to separate, but they can't, and that's probably what's causing the burning, energy reaction, is the two worlds wanting to separate, but being forcibly joined. So there's still some kind of a connection to the Feywild there.
Okay, so this was tied to the ruins. Maybe this is where some of the latent portal magic is stuck. It's like a fixed overlap point.
Is there a way to expand this?
I am not sure. It's very snarled up on itself, but I feel like it's probably connected to it.
We've had a multitude of theories and have tried hiring researchers and different sorts of mages and spellcasters and seeing if they could construct some way to reopen it, but the wound, as we've come to call it, in the wall just absorbs anything we throw at it. Once in a while we can manage to get a stronger reaction, but nothing like when it used to be a fully formed portal in the wall before. When this room was not destroyed, the dais it even had stairs on it, a couple stairs at least, not that you need much to get up onto it, but it had a couple stairs. It was intricately carved with runes, and there were small, sort of shallow indents all the way around that you would have to put magically charged gems into, and once the whole thing was filled, it would ignite in a blue glow, and the portal would open.
Interesting.
What kind of gems were they?
I don't remember, to be honest. They were just magically charged sources. I say gem. What they were concentrated arcane magic. They weren't actually gems, my apologies, but they were bits of magic that the mages had made and the family had acquired at some point, most likely from royalty in Quandir or other sources in Quandir.
Let's see.
Can I go around and check the remaining rooms to see if any of them look at all familiar?
Yeah, you totally can.
Right. Then they're common check.
Yes. What's higher for you, Arcana? So you can roll it, but what's higher, Arcana or History?
They're the same.
Okay, doesn't matter then, because there's a chance it could be History too for you.
Oh, that was a 7.
You know, maybe the DM has all the dice rolls tonight over here or something. They don't look particularly familiar to you, but you do notice that they're not any rune type that you've seen before. So, not a language you're familiar with. They're not your standard kind of arcane inscription kind of thing. They do look more natural, because a lot of arcane runes are pretty sharp and like geometric and mathematical, and these look more like cursive writing, and they have more of a treetop vibe to them, is the best thing that I can say. So
There's a good vibe to these.
What?
They're pretty.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
How was the portal opened?
It was opened originally by Aerith's father, who had this designed and built by a very specific group of mages, and they provided the materials for it.
Which group of mages was that?
It was a group that we're not supposed to talk about, but it was a group of professors from the university.
I see.
He was owed a lot of different favors, and he called in those favors to create this. The lead mage was a man, a drow named Jesperos. Was, at the time, a tenured professor at the university.
What was that name again?
Jesperos.
You said they used a lot of immoral practices in the portal opening?
That was your mother's opinion, which, after being presented with her theories and evidence, I guess not really just her theories, but I believe your mother and her calculations. The gems, as I mistakenly call them, were concentrated magic. If this had been done a year or two ago when Edwin was in power and the ley lines in certain regions of the world had crystallized, I'm betting it would have been really easy to take pieces of the ley lines and use them in this thing. This was quite a while before Edwin, though. So there was not, in that time, a really known way of concentrating and storing magic. Raw potential. Just raw, you can do whatever you want with it magic. Except sacrificing people or using types of blood magic. Not to say that professors of an esteemed institution would do such things, but they would have the knowledge for it. So, based on a vibe, as your mother said, and details that she gleaned from conversations with the professors and her father and poking her nose probably where it didn't belong, she was almost certain that they had used illicit magic to create these sources of power.
And this professor,
Jesperos.
do you know if they were there still?
I do not, particularly because we were forbid to try and talk to them, even though I considered it multiple times. Most likely, based on the way that tenured works at the university, plus age ranges, there's no reason that he shouldn't still be there. Possibly.
What a chance, at least.
But then we are conveniently done with it.
Yes. I'm going to have a word with this affairs.
I would be careful, of course. Be tactful and careful, because the thing that you would be accusing them of is very horrible if Aerith is correct in how those components were made. But they were, the professors that Jesperos led, a group of 4, were very excited, I suppose is the right word, to try and fuck with the Fae.
As a Fae.
I'm aware. The thing is, between some of this world and others, such as our world and the Fae, some that practice many different kinds of magic feel slighted that the Fae have it so easy, according to them. Fae have an abundance of naturally endowed magic, especially in the Feywild, and if you are a true Fae pureblood descent, there is no caster in our world that can scratch you, equal you. So a lot of them get jealous and get big in the head thinking that they can take a Fae on.
See, me as a Fae, that is master, magically talented.
You were not born in the Feywild, though, and you were, if a Fey Lord, someone that is a pureblood Fey, born in the Feywild, raised in the Feywild, with the access to the Feywild magic, they could nearly snap their fingers and fold anyone else in half in this world if they chose to. It's not that simple, but you get the idea. Take someone from history. Anomaly. Great mage of massive power. Would definitely die if she fought a Fae in the Feywild. Perhaps she has tricks up her sleeves. If the Fae was on our turf, it's a little more of a fair battle, but the Fae still probably has the upper hand unless you overwhelm them or trick them.
You said you tried a lot of theories in terms of ways to get to her. Is one of them including getting her out indirectly?
I believe so. Do you mean... Well, I'll tell you what we've done. We've tried countless ways to reactivate the portal, and we've consulted countless individuals in doing so. We then tried to see if we could provide her information in the erratic dreams to collaborate with her to get her out another way. She could find another exit from the Feywild to our world, and we would be waiting on the other side for her. Is that what you meant?
Sort of. I think, because I know when you first talked about it, my immediate idea was to be direct. It's involved in a portal of some sort where she physically walks through it. What if you don't need to be direct? What if there's a way through word? Like spells.
Oh, I mean, there could be.
Not like literal portal spells or anything, but one that she can cast on herself or someone can cast on her.
Perhaps. I suppose we haven't explored that completely. Your mother's not much of a spellcaster herself. And in the Feywild, coming across things like scrolls and wands and other sources of helping a non-caster can use are also rare. Casting something from our side to hers, I believe we have exhausted most of those options, but it is not one that we have readily discussed, so we could have missed something.
Well, yeah, cosplaying is good tricky when you don't have a point of sight.
Yeah, that's the only idea I have there. I'm not talented in this regard. My magic expertise is limited to the spirit.
Well, speaking technically, if someone in the Feywild were to cast banishment on her, it would immediately send her here. That, for example, is something that kind of sounds like what you're talking about. But you would need someone to cast banishment on her and for her to willingly accept it, and then it would return her to her home plane, which is Akorah. So that's one example that I can think of with my limited understanding of magic, but there could be other spells. As far as I am aware, though, there are not many spells that can target an individual on another plane and rip them to another plane. But there are spells that let you cross. I mean, crossing to the Feywild itself is doable, and there are many mages that possess the spell to do it, and others. It's just typically you don't know exactly where you're going to end up, and coordinating with where she is would be a hard thing to do.
Maybe a new window of possibilities here. Finding someone willing to go into the Feywild and find her.
Roll another perception check.
Okay. That's better. I got a 12.
I was waiting for you to be like, that's better. It's a 2.
That would be
It
pretty
would
on
have
point.
been better.
It would have strictly been better, yes. You realize that ever since you ran up the stairs, you really haven't seen Skalea for some reason. And thinking back, she kind of awkwardly stood off to the side in the living room and didn't take a seat, like as if she didn't know where to sit or something. And she just seemed like really stoic. She's down here with you guys, but she is like back off in a corner leaning up against the wall, kind of near where the long ramp hits the bottom. And she coughs a little bit as you're thinking about this and kind of notice it in the back of your head. And she coughs and like meekly tries to get everybody's attention and goes, yeah, one of those people is right here.
Then imagine him turning to her.
There's a spell called Gate. I can cast it, and that's what this spell does, is traverse planes. I've used it a handful of times before, not for the Feywild particularly, but that's what she is talking about.
What does this gate do exactly? Does it take just you, or
It takes me. It takes a lot of very specific and powerful reagents and just raw sort of gold power. So I have the stuff for it, I think. I'd have to double check. It's not like something I keep the reagents on by any means. But I make a portal. I get to target a plane of existence. It's a small portal, nothing like that, but you could all fit for it, sort of thing. And technically, it works based on someone's name, but it's a very demanding spell to cast. Not many people know how to cast it, even though it's not like it's secret knowledge or anything like that. Yeah. I might be able to. But as Thalmors is saying, we would just be in the Feywild.
I want to do this, but not so hastily, I think. It's more dependent on if you want to do that. And if it just takes you. If it does it take you or others?
To cast the spell?
Yeah, no, like to cast it and only you go through?
No, when I casted any number of... any 7, maybe. I don't think that's ever run into a cap on it before, but I can look at my book and actually consult my notes, because it's not something that I've used often or for a while, to say the least, but I don't think we'd have an issue with the number of people that we have here. Plus your mother, sort of thing. But yes, it's a portal that I create. It lasts for up to a minute, then it closes. And then I can create another one the next day.
So we would need to make sure you have double.
Yes. Which is doable. So.
Are you willing to do that? This is, I think, a lot.
I mean, it's really not that much. It's gold, which is nothing in the, when you compare it to what we're talking about, people would give anything to be reunited with a lover or a family member. So I don't really think it's like that much. And not to sound haughty or anything like that, but I have more gold than I know what to do with, because I have a house in Arley and I don't like spending money because I don't usually have things to spend it on. I'm not a person that goes on shopping trips that often. So I have the money and I have most of the reagents, and I would need a little bit to double check with my spellbook, go over my notes, and make sure that I have everything that I would need. And of course, I would cast it multiple times. It's you getting to see your mother or find your mother, hopefully. Your friend is right, though. We would be in the Feywild, so you'd want to try and probably... I mean, once we're on the other side, that does change things. you might be able to use a scroll of sending or something like that to see if you could contact your mother. The problem is would be getting us all in the same place at the same time. So
Does winking somehow work? Like hold hands and pop out at the same spot.
what do you mean?
Oh, I thought you meant.
No, we'll all come out at the same. We will all come out at the same point.
I got confused.
No, it's okay. I have some other tricks up my sleeve. Why don't you all keep investigating? I'm gonna go back up into the main house and pour over some of my notes for a little bit and see what I can fish out.
Okay. And he's gonna give her probably the biggest hug he's ever given her.
She hugs back, and it's just kind of a weird thing that you notice that when she hugs you back, she just feels smaller and frailer than she ever has, which is not something that words that you'd use to describe her typically. But she returns the hug and then walks off somewhat quickly up the ramp. And she brought, a satchel with some of her stuff in it, so she most likely has her spell book in it. Not that a cleric uses one that often, but she makes her way back up into the house while you guys are down there.
Well, I didn't expect any of this.
It is rather a lot, yes.
I guess if we do this, are you guys willing to go with? It's not your responsibility; it's mine.
You're a friend. Of course I'm going.
Yeah, we're clean.
You guys. And we give you both big hugs. Too.
This sounds like a Feywild with a cool city. Something new.
You could find some kind of information there too, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think we all kind of have reasons to go.
That's true. I think it'd be one, fun, and then two, we have stuff to do there. And I think that we can come back later once everything is done here. After we see the university people, or do we want to?
Well, let's see what's the has to say.
Oh yeah, after.
Could maybe be good to talk to the university. See what information we could maybe glean. Maybe they'd let us use their library. I'm sure there's all sorts of fun, cool things.
Maybe we could see about your own university.
Yes.
Well, this must be great for you, Pullman.
What do you mean?
You can get a portal.
I mean, it is. I'm sorry, I'm excited. I suppose I'm just pragmatic, where we've been trying this for a very long time, years and years of failed experiments, so not much really gets my hopes up at this point.
I can understand that.
Plus, then immediately my mind goes to what happens if we do find Aerith and she does return to this plane. Do her and I stay like this? It's not a horrible existence by any means. I would just be happy if she was back with us, so I suppose we both could live with that, but...
I actually might be able to answer at least somewhat.
How so?
I mentioned briefly, just as like a funny haha, that my expertise, if in magic, it's in the spirit. I could maybe see if it's so intertwined that it's impossible to remove or separate, or if this is just something like what's going on with the portal.
If you can provide any insight, that would be welcome. Aerith is the only one that understands this sort of construction, and many of the constructs that have begun to fall apart or were damaged over time, no one has been able to repair them. So if you have any insight into her sort of workings, it would be helpful.
I think that might make it easier because she taught me a good portion of what I know.
As far as I am able to assess, I am fused half to half, but I do not know if it is reversible. But if you want to inspect me or any of the other constructs, or if there's any insight you can provide, we would be most grateful to you for it.
Of course. May I? Right now?
Of course.
This is all on my ass. What do I roll? What do
You're doing great. You sold me on it. Well, no, your Aerith did teach you a lot of this stuff, and you have become intimately familiar with your arms and their function over the years, and that only reinforced her teachings and stuff like that. So you can kind of, yeah, you know exactly what to do. You would want to go over and you specifically would like inspect the seam and kind of the porcelain work and see if there's any way that it has kind of the receptacles that your arms do, where there's runes on both sides. So, you would kind of look at it and be like, is the flesh like absolutely melted? Like, can you see a line where the flesh bleeds into porcelain, or is it like a hard demarcated line kind of thing? So you have a lot of stuff to look for.
Yeah.
So I would say do an Arcana roll, and then some of it's just going to be innately what you know too. It's not all just based on a roll.
Cool. Because I was thinking along the lines of, because he is technically an enchanter in terms of art.
Yeah.
He does tattoos. All of his magic is spiritual. I feel like it all kind of adds up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a flat roll for me since.
Yep.
It's all really good. Ooh.
Well, for Arcana, yes.
Yeah. It's just for that. It's
And I would also say, even though you're going to get info regardless because of being trained on, roll with advantage for it too.
Cool. Yay. No.
Is that the 2?
No. That's a 7.
What was the highest?
7.
You rolled-
a 4 and a 7.
Dear God, that's ridiculous.
The rolls are
Well,
great today.
it's a low roll, but this is something that you're trained in, and rolls do not dictate everything. So you go over and kind of look over the joint on Fulmar. And, it's easy for you with your height towering over her to kind of look at the hairline and kind of just follow and trace the exposed skin and look at it. It's not a hard fuse. Like, it's immediately obvious to you without even having to use any of your training or anything like that. You can see where skin and porcelain meet and they stop. They do not mesh or bleed into each other, which immediately would give you a sense of relief. Because if they were fused on that level, then who knows what the hell, if it would ever be possible to undo that. But this is a hard demarcation between the two of them. So that makes you feel relieved. And as you're looking, you catch little bits of like a faint glow that you can kind of get from your arms. Like, because if you pop one of your arms off and like look at the joint, there is kind of a faint glow where her symbol is once in a while, like just out of the corner of your eye, the latent magic and stuff. And you see that along that line too. And you just, if you had to hazard a guess, it's probably reversible. It doesn't seem like it is permanent by any means. And as far as you can tell, you don't even pick up like kind of an arcane warble around it or anything like that. You don't even think what did this was arcane technically. Maybe it was fey trickery because to you don't really detect a lot of magic with it.
My sort of sight that we've discussed,
Mm-hmm.
does it read as fey?
It does. When you're that close to it, the line reads as fey. You have to get close to Folsom to see it, or Fulmar to see it, but like if you get close to that line, very faint warble of fey on it. So you would bet hard money that the Lord did this when he was on the way out.
Gotcha.
Or it's a side effect based on whatever he did to blow the portal up. So
I'll have good news for you, Fulmar. I have a hypothesis. This doesn't look permanent, and that it's either a residual effect from the portal, as you originally theorized, or it's the Lord being like, "Haha, I'm a fake, pew pew."
I've also thought that could be a thing once or twice. You think there's a chance though?
Definitely, it seems like it.
Well,
That
that's it.
seam it's all fey magic.
Really?
Mhm.
Nobody's ever said that before when I've had them look, but then again, I haven't had a fey look. So, I would be happy to exist like this if your mother was just on this side and we knew that she was okay. Truly okay and back with us. But if there is a way to split us back apart and recombine us, it would be very nice to be back together again after all these years.
Yeah. For that, I have no idea how, other than the Lord doing it. But at least it's not permanent.
That's a relief, and I will try to cling to hope that perhaps you will meet a kind fae on your journeys that would undo his magic.
Me too.
Question for DM.
Yes.
Since we haven't really talked too much about this, but Cass's time with the Ether clan,
Mhm.
hanging out with the Zypoid. it's a large concentration of magic.
Mhm.
Do they do anything with that magic, like channel it and do like extraordinary acts where like this could be something they could help with?
Oh, they do all kinds of shit like that. They don't specifically. They use the pieces of the meteorite in the aether to power things, as in like they have ways to make weapons out of it. They can enchant things with it. They have done teleportation with it before. They have their own version of kind of Thunderpad technology that is very exclusive to them and is a top secret thing that you know about. It could be used to open portals. They've never done it that you know of. Probably have at some point. But yes, it's easy enough for you to be like, oh yeah, geez, if I had like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 little tiny chunks of this thing, it would power the shit out of this if the damage was repaired and everything. So
So additional potential needs. I mean, it would be a long shot by long. But you know what I would hear from yeah. So they have little chunks of xiphoid that can do really extraordinary magical stuff. Possibly, maybe get this portal open, but it might also help with the refusing.
I think definitely for maybe the refusing or unfusing recombination.
Yeah, recombination. So that could also be a possibility. To technically maybe save Square from having to do a gate. But that would probably be more certain.
I think if Six does have all the materials to do that, and then use the maybe the rocks that they don't give us, because we don't have all of them rocks, do we?
Yeah, they also may not give them to us because tree top.
I was going to say, how difficult do you think it would be to actually get any of that?
I mean, I have some connections there, and I could maybe do some sweet talking. And adorable, after all. But it would maybe be hard. It would probably be better for the recombination.
I like your idea. Maybe they should letter or.
I mean, mail travels slowly, and that also seems like a huge thing to just be like, hi, in papers, where anyone could read it. But I mean, we're going to head to Treetop anyway. For a bit. We have to drop off the, you know that.
Is that where we want to take it?
It is from Treetop.
I think you should come. You come.
Also, we need to check in on your family and my
I
family.
think he's dead.
We're gonna go with no one's families are dead.
I mean,
We're clinging to this.
that'd be nice.
Yeah.
They weren't exactly nice people, but it's better that they are alive and able to repent for their, I guess, sins.
And at the very least, you can avenge them. If needed. But they're not dead.
I don't like killing people.
You're being very insistent on this point.
Anyway, I'll give it back to Treetop for a little bit. But after so. And now we have good magic.
Yes.
Yeah.
I should check on something. I don't think she's feeling.
Yeah, and she's a little off.
Thank you, Fulmar. I'm gonna be right back.
he just shoot up this. Yeah, Fulmar's like.
I will keep looking at this. Bye.
Bye, Donnie. I'll be right back.
Where was he going?
Let's check on something.
Oh. I didn't get your name.
I'm Cass.
Nice to meet you. And the one with the blue hair is Skalea.
Yes.
Is there anything that you need to look further into this?
Need? No, I just going to take a bit more time examining some of this. And didn't want to interrupt the flow, but Sonny's checking out any of the receptacles that are left that had the gems in them, just because the hinting of there might have been blood magic involved is like, well, I could probably find that out for sure.
Yeah, you can go check the receptacles. All of them, are completely empty and scrubbed even clean of dust at this point. But you can go over them and kind of, are you going to go do a ritual on one of them, or are you just going to kind of go look?
Look first and then figure it out from there.
Okay, do an Arcana check. Now I would say with advantage as well because of the subject matter.
6, 11. It's going to be 17.
17. Going around, at first they just seem like indentations in the stone. You can tell that there's runes carved into them, and you can kind of see how that they would feed energy into the larger dais, but there doesn't seem to be anything that stands out. But when you get to the furthest one on the right, you do get a feeling. A feeling that there was something here at some point that might be what you were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And you might want to try and cast a ritual as the kind of guess that you get. You don't know how the dais is going to react to it, though, but you get this feeling, this tugging at part of your soul that there was something here at some point akin to something like your magic.
Interesting. Well,
It is on the dais, though, in one of the receptacles, so you don't know how exactly, magically charged blood or whatever might interact with it. But definitely something.
let's look over at Fulmar. Do you mind if I try something?
No, feel free to conduct any experiments that you wish. As I said, we've beaten the dais to death at this point and haven't really ever gotten much of a reaction.
I understand. This will just take a moment. Just picking what to try. I'm gonna do an augury ritual over it.
Ooh, okay. Go ahead and do an augury ritual. Tell us about this augury ritual and how it works.
So, the ritual itself is mostly just like throwing bones. The main thing is that before doing this, she kind of creates like effectively a temporary altar by
Mhm.
inscribing a few runes around the area.
Mm-hmm.
So like the preparation portion is definitely like, pricking finger and then tracing out the symbols that she needs to be around what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's also going to make sure it's like, okay, and then the receptacles here in the center, we're just going to put a little bit there. Put a couple drops of blood in there, and then she will go ahead and just do a regular augury.
Mm-hmm.
And, the specific course of action, because she is actually going to be doing like a full spell here, is if Sick is able to cast the spell, should they go through sooner or later, basically.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. It's like, should we leave now? Or just get a yes/no and then kind of plan accordingly from there.
So you go about setting up for the ritual, and Fulmar watches along with Cass, I assume.
Mhm.
Kind of tilting her head every so often, the purple gem in her left eye just faintly glowing. And eventually you finish the augury ritual with a drop of blood into the receptacle. And immediately, though Fulmar and Cass don't see anything, Sonny's eyes don't change, nothing happens, you feel something. Your vision doesn't go away this time. You don't feel called to the sea or anything like that, but you feel the results kind of just jolt through your body, and it's a definite wheel and woe.
So good and bad if we go through now. I think, like, with the intensity of it, she kind of starts for a minute, because that's not normally how that goes off.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of, like, settles back into a seated position from where she was kneeling, but seems okay.
And I'm sure that you, as the player, are familiar with this, with the copy in front of you, but just as a reminder to the player and Sonny, because Sonny would know specifically, the spell doesn't take into account any possible circumstances that might change the outcome, such as the casting of additional spells or the loss or gain of a companion.
Mhm.
So,
Like, ugh. Well, that was interesting.
was it successful? I didn't see anything happen.
Well, I mean, I got an answer, but the answer was only half the point. There was definitely some kind of a resonance here.
In what way?
In that it kind of reacted to my blood.
Excellent.
I'm not familiar with your type of magic or blood magic. Is that a good or bad thing, or what does it mean?
Yeah, usually it means, if not directly through my power or my gods, but something very similar has left a mark on the weave here. Something where my energy was near enough to it that it... Have you ever seen a tuning fork?
Yes.
It is like this, yes. You see, I put the active energy in, and there is something near enough to it in the weave that it kind of sings in reply a little bit.
I can follow the logic. So there's a chance that there could have been something nefarious involved.
It would depend on how they went about it, but something that involved rituals like I do for certain.
I assume that you were not sacrificing individuals for yours, as I just witnessed you draw blood from your own body willingly.
Yes, that's... No one from my faith would do such thing. It's anathema.
So perhaps there could have been an ethical way that they did it then.
Perhaps. I asked about the gate. It's kind of a mixed answer.
That sounds about right. Or
It seems as if, like, it'll be good in some respects. There are others who would probably see what happens if we go.
alright. Well, that still leaves me leaning towards let's try and get more information. But we'll see what Skelea says.
What's been going on upstairs?
Having a party.
Oh, really now?
Just waiting.
Again.
So did you just rush back up to try and find her?
Yeah.
Okay. She isn't immediately in sight once you kind of pop out of the floor where the staircase goes back up into the living room. If you can't find her in the living room, I assume you would have asked one of the constructs, or the constructs will tell you where she is, and just mention that they saw her go outside after taking a cup of tea from the counter that they had offered, and out on kind of the large deck that wraps around the house to the cliff face. She found kind of a shaded little veranda that has a bunch of like couches and seats and tea tables on there, and she's curled up on one of the couches, boots in front of her on the ground, and she's poring over a tome that you've never seen her have out before, that was most likely in the satchel. It's very dark blue in silver, or it's a dark blue leather book with a silver crest on the front of it that's kind of hidden in her lap, and a big blue bookmark like ribbon that's draped out of it, and she's just sitting there tracing something on the page as she's deep in thought.
Gingerly sit next to her, make sure she knows that he's there.
She, based on the reaction or lack of a reaction, she probably heard your footsteps at some point, and like she doesn't move or jerk or anything like that, but she's just kind of mumbling under her breath, and like it seems like she's in the middle of a passage, and eventually she finishes it and keeps place with her finger and looks up and goes, "Any luck?"
I think we're making good headway. Sorry this is so complicated. I had hoped.
Don't apologize to me. Not at all. No, I'm sorry that it's complicated. I hoped it would be a simple family reunion. Not that there's really such a thing as a simply family reunion most of the time, but you know what I mean. I hoped it was going to be a happy, quick, and easy, and the most awkward thing we had to talk about was who I was, sort of thing.
I don't think that would have been awkward. I'm sure she'd love you.
Thanks. I'm just making a joke. Girlfriend, whatever, That would have been the most awkward thing, not crossing planes and dealing with a Fey Lord. That's not what I had in mind either.
And your girlfriend?
Take away.
She picks the hand up that was holding the spot on the page and just buries her face in it, and you watch her turn red from like her wrists up, sort of thing, and she just like sits there simmering for a moment, and she actually says that, and she goes, "That's what you took away from that."
Yeah, everything went woo.
She's just gonna sit there in her embarrassment for the moment.
It's so cool.
Does he say that?
Yeah.
She just kind of groans under her breath. And keeping her head in her hand, she goes, "Well, fine, don't keep me in suspense. Does that mean that you're okay with that / want that /
I sure hope so.
Okay. Okay. Says the 100-plus-year-old blushing elf. And she like slowly rips her face out of her hand and like looks up at you, and it's just beet red, like beet fucking red as she looks up at you. And she's like, that really wasn't the point of what I was trying to say, but yeah, I'd really like that too if you're okay with it.
Of course I'm okay with it.
Okay. Anyway, spells to go to the Feywild. I was wrong and right. Gate isn't the spell that I was thinking of. Gate is a spell that I can cast, and it actually could get your mother back, but I would have to know exactly where she is. So
we wouldn't have to bank on a sending spell getting to her and her, I guess, describing her location? Would be what it is?
if I was on this side, yes. If I was on this side, I could speak her name, which I know. It has to be her true name, which I assume that is her actual name. And I would open a portal that would then draw her through the portal to our side.
So it's even better than what you originally described. Instead of us going in, we could pull her out.
Yes, but again, you need to know exactly where she is. And that's not easy in this sort of a case. So sure, if we could find out exactly where she is, maybe I'd be able to hit it. I've actually never cast this spell. The spell I was thinking of, and she like flips a couple pages and smacks her finger down on one that you can see has a ton of notes on it, scratched out, pieces erased and stuff like that, and a really intricate set of runes drawn in the middle that eventually seem to compile from all the notes. What I was thinking of is a little more direct, and she taps the page, and you see that the title of the spell is Astral Projection. And she goes on. So this spell, I did it once. You and a group of people can project into another plane of existence. There are actually spells that mages have and other people have that can physically move you there. Like you, Vander, right here, into another plane. You're there. This spell is Astral Projection, something that sounds more like your alley than my alley, really, which is an interesting name for this spell. But you form a circle. I draw an intricate series of runes. There's a whole bunch of costs associated with it. And the group that sits on the runes and meditates ends up getting shunted into another dimension. Their physical bodies stay here. They gain a manifestation of themselves in the other plane that might as well be them. It's not, but you maintain pretty much all the same physical descriptors, your representations of the things that you're holding. You can cast magic, you can use your abilities, stuff like that. You gain a cord between your shoulders that floats in the air about a foot or so before vanishing into nothingness. That's the cord that's connecting you to your physical body. There are ways in which people in other planes, or even if, they came to our plane, you can sever that cord. And if you sever that cord, you sever the body from the mind and you die permanently.
And so how would that happen?
Very specific spells that were designed to do it. It's honestly not a risk most of the time, at least in my educated opinion. But if you're dealing with a Fey Lord or somebody, they might know the magic to make it happen. But they'd still have to get very close to you, and it would be tricky. But it does separate your soul and body and kills you instantly. If they dispel magic on you, if you are bested in combat and fall over and die, you wake back up. The only way to truly kill you is snip the cord. It didn't happen to...
Spell? Or what sort of spell would that entail by a lord?
Very, very high level magic. Think like, I'm not sure what you're familiar with from just lore, but power word kill sort of thing. Or actually, I mean, the spell that I'm casting, and she pushes the book a little over in her lap so you can see it more, like this is a pretty thick tome, and it must be the one that she's had most of her life. She's on like the last 3 pages of the tome, and it's a 9th level spell. So like it's a very powerful max tier magic spell kind of thing. And she kind of taps the page again and goes, it would have to be this level of magic. And again, there are very few spells out there that can do it. The risk is low, but it's not non-existent sort of thing. The fact that if you die through more conventional means, you'd end back up in your body is actually kind of a nice thing.
I agree. It's good to know the risks.
Yeah, we did it once. It was fine. None of us died permanently, obviously. And none of us even died temporarily in the plane that we went to. We had to go to the fire plane. About 6 years ago or so, me and a group of very close friends, we had to go to the fire plane to stop a plot against Distitute, and we were successful in the end. But that's the only time. That's when I gained the knowledge to cast this spell, and it's the only time I've cast this spell. And surprisingly, it actually has less, mostly, requirements than Gate does.
Yeah.
So if you'd like me to, this would actually be a somewhat safe way to do it, even though I feel kind of weird after I just described the downside to you, but overall it's much safer than physically going there.
I would agree.
It's not like someone's going to pop out of the woodwork and snip your cord, unless the Feylord's waiting, and even then, I don't think that that's really their style, so...
Yeah, plus they don't know any of us.
They don't. They would recognize the tether, most likely, because it's a physical 1 foot long cord between your shoulders. They would know what was going on. The other thing, too, and she flips back a couple pages and taps the gate spell again, and like looks like she recently circled a block of text on it. People can block this one. They can't block astral projection. Astral projection just happens. There is not a way that I know of, nor have I ever heard of, to block it, but with Gate, a deity or a lord of a realm or certain people technically have the power to block Gate spell because you're ripping something from their domain. So depending on if she's just in the wild, maybe, if nobody's watching her or anything like that, but if she has a spell cast on her or if the lord is aware of our attempt to yank her out, then maybe.
Okay. It's good. One more question.
Mm-hmm.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm sorry that this wasn't a happy reunion because you really deserve one. And I wanted to see something go good for you and your friends, and just made me think of my family and how I wish that we could have been a happy family, and I wanted that for you, sort of thing. And this kind of magic doesn't come without a cost, and beyond the ridiculous reagent cost, which really isn't that bad, like I said. There's other cost to these spells, which I have a feeling if I told you, you would immediately rule these spells out, and I don't want you to do that, because these spells are probably your best shot at getting into the Feywild anytime in the near future.
Does it have something to do with you being smaller?
Yes? How the fuck did you know that?
I'm a big guy. When I touch you, I have to be careful. And now you're even smaller. When I touch you, it takes even more effort. If that makes sense.
Oh.
Well, it's not like it's an effort thing. Like, oh, that's just difficult. It's more like I have to think when I do certain things.
Yeah.
And so I have to be aware, and I'm aware of that.
That must be some kind of a magical insight that you're blessed with beyond your stature, because I haven't done anything yet, but that's creepy in a good way, I guess. The spells take a toll on my life. I sacrifice a bit of my life to cast some of these spells. It's not a lot, but it's still a draw on my life force, and it's painful, and technically it can take some amount of years off my life, but then again, I'm an elf, so I typically have them in spades, but I was just thinking about that in the time that I've done this sort of thing before, and I am more than willing to do it, but typically when people hear that, they don't like to talk about the spells anymore, or I could just see someone as kind-hearted as you immediately being like, nope, we will find another way to do that, but it's not that bad. It will sound like it hurts me more than it does, and I might just be a little weak afterwards, but I will be fine.
I won't stop you. However, I will make one request. If it's possible, I'm not a caster. I will be your conduit instead. This is my mom. It shouldn't be on you to give up a portion of your energy, your life energy, to save someone that, like in my case, is my mom. It should be me.
That might actually, that could have different implications for the spell. It's worth a shot. We might be able to make it a bit easier on each other if we do something like that. But it is your mother, yes, and I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, it's my life force and I give it to who I want to. I want to give it to you. So I want to give it to you and your mother in this case if it can't bring you two back together. So I will take you up on the conduit offer and we can see if we can soften the blow. But I'm just going to be honest with you, because apparently I'm your girlfriend, that if push came to shove and I had to pick one of our life forces, it's coming from mine, because I have more than you, most likely.
I mean, I'm only 40, or in my 40s.
I know, but technically my lifespan is longer than yours. On paper.
How long do I was in?
On average, like, actually, let's look, because I always get it mixed up with Tolkien elves, but I want to say on average it's 300 to 500 for D&D. And the ages...
500?
Are they?
Yeah.
Did I get them backwards? Let's see.
I don't remember.
The DM needs to educate herself because she cannot remember all these facts like some awesome DMs can. And I want to say that she...
She can drain the crap out of him.
Say what?
She can drain the crap out of him.
Yes. Like, take all your life. It's like, oh, never mind. I'm going to take some of yours for myself.
I mean, he would.
Oh,
He's
no.
very young. So.
Aha! So I were both right, because Furbog can live up to 500 years. Elves can live to be 750. So technically she probably has a little bit more to play around with, but that's not always how, age magic works and life magic and stuff. So could mean a lot of different things. But she nods and goes, I think we could try and find a way to make it easier on each other, but if push comes to shove.
I don't want you to spend your life force in a way through magic. I want you to spend your life force in a literal way.
See, this is why Oh, that's really charming. That's why I didn't tell you. That's why I didn't want to tell you, because I knew that you would say that. But I think we're somewhat in agreement that, at least, to try it, if we try it. If you guys want, I think it's a good option. It just depends on if you want to do it now before the university or anything else. So I will tell you, once we get back with it, I'm probably not going to be up to travel for a while. In a week or two, at least. So you might have to leave me behind for a bit, depending on the urgency of wherever else you guys are headed off to next. If it's something to do with the university or that village that you mentioned or anything.
Would that sort of be negated if I'm the conduit?
I don't know, honestly. It's fascinating, the idea of someone else being a conduit like that, because that's not usually how... It's not how I cast spells as a cleric. That's more of an arcane thing, where that's kind of something that they do. Honestly, Sonny might know a little bit more about conduits, probably way more than I do. It could make it less if I try and use you to help channel some of the magic, and you are Fae, so maybe in this case it works. It's like, that's the thing. People see people like me or Sonny or, anybody that casts spells, and it's like they see us with one of these books and all these notes and they think that we know everything about this. This is so much of an art form, even after magic has been around ever since the Xiphoid fell. We're learning something new every single day. And even though I can sit here and lecture you on the things that I've done my whole life with it, I'm sure that I barely scratched the surface. So maybe I'm willing to take the chance with it and see. I don't see a downside. How about that?
Me neither.
Well, we'll make sure that we do anything to negate it. But didn't you discover anything down there? Do you think that you want to do this, or do we need to talk to everybody?
I think we should make sure it's a uniform decision.
Well, I'm gonna pour over this just a little bit more to familiarize myself with both the spells, because, like I said, I don't pull this kind of stuff out that often. Plus, I think I also am still blushing and probably couldn't make eye contact with other people right now. So I'm going to look at this book
Just
And
wait
you
until I tell my mom that you're not booked. After we rescue her.
Yes, that's the piece that I am focusing on, is that we're rescuing. Am I blushing,
Just let her
Scalia?
know. And then, I'll be back, girlfriend.
It just runs off. She's just like. Oh dear.
Thank you.
So did you guys stay down there, or were you going to head up after the wheel woe?
I think Sonia's just been taking more notes on like the rune composition and stuff. I imagine probably isn't rolls, but stuff that she wants to have like
Okay.
in her book as records.
Well, we will say that Vander doesn't find you guys in the house then and heads back down there. But first, we'll go ahead and take our break because we're a few minutes over on that. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick 10-15 minute break. We like to leave our microphones on during break so you can ask us questions / just hang out with us in general. So we're going to leave. Say what?
That's not built into the pride thing.
Oh, it's not built in. Oh, it's
changed, so we don't have that.
I didn't realize that. Well, I'm a dirty liar. So we will take a actual break for 10 to 15 minutes where you do not get to chat with us on voice this time because we're using our awesome Pride theme. But you can enjoy the awesome Pride theme that we have set up here in the meantime. And we'll be back to finish up the story for tonight. So we'll see you guys in about 10-15 minutes. Go hydrate and get some snacks yourself.
There'll be music.
There'll be music too. continue the discussion, but feel free to bring us back.
Okay, you're back.
Oh, hi everybody. We're having a great discussion that you would have heard over the mics if we had that theme set up right now. So I'm just going to continue.
Just saying, ooh.
Yes, ooh. Yes, the amount of bits that you would have to pay me to say ooh in the typical anime gamer girl voice would be astronomical. Ara would be up there too, because Ara is said in mommy voice. So either of those, we could make lots of money if people were willing to pay that. So you don't have context for half that conversation, but welcome back to Prismatic Dragonfly Tavern.
And congratulations on the announcement of our first mythical family crowdfund.
Yes. How much money can you raise to make the DM say Ara in her mommy voice?
Angel's already pitching in.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah.
Oh, gee, I already cheered. Thank you.
There's no goal, but he's already pitching in.
Yes, well, thank you so much, James, for the contribution. Hopefully, this will distract you from making a snort counter in the meantime. See, so I could see Giovanni saying "R," though. Now I'm thinking way too much about this.
Do it right now.
No. It's hard to do Gio's voice, honestly. If I haven't been using it for a while, it's really hard to. And I mean, why would I use it? Because Gio's dead. I mean, maybe
Just say the word daddy.
Nat's out there with Daddy. Daddy does do it, actually. Daddy is the keyword for Giovanni, because sometimes you need a keyword for voices, and his is Daddy, because you remember this. You remember the story. You were here for all the joy.
I'm not apologizing for this.
Yeah, the whole big booming boisterous. People have no idea what's going on, but we're having fun. Big booming boisterous voice, but it turned out to be more of a daddy. There's Giovanni's voice when I'm actually focusing on the voice and not letting the voice drip. So he would do something like ara, ara, something like that. I'm killing all my players. I love it. Anyway, D&D, where there's less flirting going on.
In the basement.
In the basement. Ara. So, Vander runs back inside and makes his way back downstairs to find Sonny, Cass, and Fulmar where he left them. You all see Vander run back down, just zipping all over the place.
Hey guys.
Is everything okay with Scalad?
Yes. She figured out that the spell she's wanting to use is not gate. It is astral projection, which is, she said, arguably safer than
No.
physically going.
This is making sense. There are a lot of things that are not pleasant to physical travelers.
Oh, that's good that we can save her option.
And she says that she's good to go with the spell if everyone else is. Just it depends on when we want to.
Well, if we are just going to project instead of go through, I see very few reasons to not, at least take a look and see if we can find out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same.
What about you, Fulmar?
I don't particularly have stake in the matter myself. I mean, I do,
Of
but
course you do. It just depends if you want to go.
how do I put this delicately? I do not know if I am a valid target for astral projection.
We could try.
We
If
could.
you want to, of course.
We could. It is debatable if I have a soul or not.
I think you do.
I appreciate that. I would like to believe I do, but certain types of magic that are like that are meant for more conventional beings than myself. So I could try it. I also did not know if you would find value in me going, because I am not handy in a fight.
I mean, I guess it just depends, because this is as much as something for me as it is for you.
It is, in different ways. I would say that I might be more helpful here watching over your bodies if you were to astral project.
This is true. Someone will have to be watching.
It will be me and most of the other constructs, and we will make sure that you are kept safe during that time. But in my actual form, I can't hold my own in combat. In this form, life is comfortable enough, but it's still not my body. fully, and I don't think I could do the things that I normally would do in a fight, and I just would feel more like a liability, even if you hopefully didn't end up in a fight. But here, me and the other constructs can keep a watch over you and make sure no harm befalls you while you are gone. And also wake you up if needed, hopefully.
And Sig had questions for you regarding the spell.
Oh, I would be happy to assist if she needs my help.
That's all. But then you're saying we should do this like soon, or for now, or
Well, if I had some concerns about the original idea of opening the gates, but if we can project that is, I don't really see reasons to delay.
if you guys are sure.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I will see what's going on.
Okay. I mean, I guess we could all go up unless we're going down to here.
I don't see any reason why you'd need to stay down here, but of course you are welcome to continue investigating if you'd like.
I think I've seen what I can see for now. Maybe after projecting some of this will make more sense.
It might. Hopefully you can see to the other side of that once you try. All right. Heading back upstairs?
Yeah.
And to Skalea, I take it as a group?
Yeah.
Okay. So you guys see Skalea sitting. Vander leads you upstairs, outside onto the deck, and then the small veranda that Skalea has kind of claimed as her own. And you see her just sitting there curled up on a couch with her tome in her lap. You notice that she changed position from last time, so it'd be much harder to sneak up on her. Not that you did sneak up on her, but she like reoriented so she is more in line of sight where people will be coming, kind of thing. So she looks up when you all come and just kind of does like a brief little wave, and finishes reading something and then leaves a finger on the page as you all walk up. Any luck?
Mostly just new questions, but Vander was saying you would to speak with me about the spell?
I wanted a second opinion, because you and me are actually very close in the way that we cast spells, if you come to think of it. Vander had an idea of acting as a conduit for casting astral projection.
Oh,
And astral projection is your standard kind of ritual spell. It takes a decent amount of components littered around the intricate set of runes that I have to draw on the ground. It takes about an hour to set it up on average. You're familiar with such spells, I take it.
very.
But this one is a strain on the caster and causes quite a toll on the caster. It's painful. It's a toll. I've done it before. I know I can do it again, but he's being sweet and offered to be a conduit, which got me thinking about if that's a possibility, if that would... I don't know. I think it would, but I just didn't know if you had experience with it because of rituals and your kind of unique perspective.
I mean, in the abstract, I'm knowing about some of this, though. A lot of the time it is more, you've seen direct offerings, you know?
Yeah.
There are ways to reshape a ritual to have, essentially a different flow and a place in the leaf. It might just take a little bit of, not strictly testing, but kind of looking at what you are planning to draw and seeing if there is a way we can adjust the shape.
We could try. Do you think there's a risk of it like messing the spell up that much? Or I'm not usually someone that's free flow creative with my runes. If it's something that I've done my whole life, I'm definitely a little bit more in the play it by the seat of my pants sort of things, and I have done that, but on something like this, I tend to stick to the script.
Yes, I can understand, especially with something that is playing with the link between body and soul.
Exactly.
I haven't seen exactly this. I do know that anytime you start changing the structure of how a spell is shaped, well, I mean, any change at the start can result in much bigger changes at the end. It is just keeping things in an appropriate balance.
I don't know. I might be more comfortable if we didn't mess with it, but what do you think about the idea of him as a conduit? Hold his hand, focus on the position in the ritual, Is there a chance that that would actually have an impact on it, or do you think we would need to rewrite the spell? Based on like my experience with magic my whole life, I think there's the theory there's worth in that theory. I just think it's really more.
Intention matters a great deal. So
Yes.
if you could truly keep that like as a point of focus while doing the entire ritual, I can't think of a reason why it would not work. It would maybe be less efficient. More of say you're thinking like, if you do it one way, you bear a very large cost, and if it is done another, perhaps Vander bears much more of it instead. Maybe this would be something a bit more balanced, but it might draw a bit more energy than it would need if it was just one of you.
I can see that logic too.
Just anytime you have to focus like that, it can end up making it a bit less potent.
No, that's logical, and that matches my experience too. I mean, the way that I cast my magic is, I'd say, almost 90% intention, it feels like to me, or at least that's how I describe casting magic. And I also feel that in my practice, I have a lot of control over the flow of it and the timing of it. So we could always try, and I could pull it back or redirect it if it doesn't feel like it's working. But it seems like we're kind of playing with unknowns here.
It is kind of not something I'm directly familiar with. My temple frowns very much drawing on the strength of another. Just with how we do our rituals, there's too much temptation down paths that are best left alone that way.
That's understandable. I've heard of the practice before in study alone, and typically it wasn't a negative light, but I have read about instances of casters working together for a greater power output or a greater result, as long as consent is involved.
Yes, absolutely.
It seems like it's in the air. I'll try my best to mess around with it, but if we want to rewrite the spell like Sani's suggesting, I'm pretty sure if we put our heads together we could do that, but that's gonna take us a bit of time. So, what did you guys talk about to find out when you were down there? Because if you want to do it now, we're probably going to have to do it as written and cross our fingers and hope on some fairy dust that it works the way that we want. It'll work regardless. It's just how much of a toll it takes.
Well, I was looking around the ritual as much as I could. It definitely seems like, I think the rumors about magic similar to mine being involved are true. There's a resonance when I tried doing some of my ritual work down there. And
To your god specifically, or blood?
blood.
Oh, okay.
It was very much a reaction to the medium, not the source.
So possibly more questions for the university than it sounds like.
It could be. And the way the magic is snarled up on itself, it almost feels like there is still a very tight knot in that one point, and it is kind of making... It is like the weave has just slowly been burning itself for however many years it has been sitting there. The fires of ours and pale out mix.
Which probably isn't a good thing, I'm assuming.
It definitely is not natural. Something has rather forcibly tied that snarl together. It could have been an accident in how the portal was taken down. It could have been intentional, like as a beacon of some kind. But no, that is... I would wager we would see something very similar in the Feywild side.
What about an anti-magic field? What would that do on the snarl?
I don't know.
Fulmar, did you ever try that? And like, Fulmar's just standing off to the side and scrunches up her face and seems like she's searching her brain for a second. I don't believe we ever specifically had an anti-magic field deployed.
If that could break up the reaction, it could cause them to become unstuck, though. Would it work on only one side?
Or it could cause a massive explosion, too. It just popped into my head because I've been reviewing spells that I don't usually do. I don't ever have to really cast spells like
I mean,
this.
if it's came apart very fast. I mean, that's basically just what an explosion is. Yes.
Yes. And I wouldn't want Vander's family home, or yeah, family home in a way, blown up on top of everything else. But it just popped into my head of if you cast an anti-magic field, maybe it would unsnarl the snarl. Maybe that opened the gate. Maybe that makes it just go away. Is that good? Is that bad? Just thought popped into my head.
It's something we can keep in mind.
Yeah. So, what's the decision? Then do you want to sleep on it? Do you want to go about any of the other tasks here in the country that you were all thinking about? Did you want to try and do this sooner than later?
If we're going to project, I don't think there's much reason we have to wait outside of how we approach the spell. Which, I would defer to the two of you on how you wish to do that.
I think my main idea would be I would like to have 2 scrolls on here. Omar mentioned the spell banishment, because how else are we going to get her home if we can't take her with us through the projection?
I had completely forgotten about that. That's a good point.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about getting us there.
It's okay. But yeah, so I would want to have a scroll of banishment and a scroll of sandman. We already have one of those.
Yes, we have several scrolls of.
I can make a scroll of banishment. It's not hard. I mean, plus if you just have me, I can do it.
Or
Depends.
would you want to come with?
I'd have to.
Oh.
It's part of the spell. You can't cast the spell and send people like astral projection. You have to astral project with them, kind of thing. So I'm forcibly taken along with it. But banishment is a cleric spell, and it's one that I know like the back of my hands. It's just if you wanted a it'll take me 3 minutes to describe it. We should just make a scroll of it, in case I get zapped back or something like that. Did Vander explain the spell to you two?
No.
Okay, this spell is called astral projection. We would end up meditating on a rune that I would inscribe and then cast the spell, and we would truly astral project. Our physical bodies stay here at the chateau, and we would all astrally project into the Feywild, and we would look the same, maintain the same like physical stature, everything, the gear that you're carrying, the abilities that you can cast, everything goes with you. You're pretty much there, except your physical body's here. That's your soul.
Yes.
When you're there, you have a 1-foot tether coming out of your back, a silver thread. It's invisible after 1 foot, but it technically goes all the way back to wherever we pop up, no matter how far we go. And you can technically jump into other realms from the Fey realm, or you can dimension jump at that point and you just keep going. You're fine. If you're ever killed, or your magic is dispelled, you will wake back up here on the rune. If you ever run into anyone nasty enough to know how to cut that thread, though, and there are spells that can do it, you die permanently, because your body and soul are severed from one another, never to be reunited, most likely. So it's a pretty scary spell in that way, but at the same time, as I was telling Vander, a Fey Lord probably would know how to do it. They would still have to get close to you, and it's a risk. I'm not denying that, and everybody needs to know about that risk before going in there. I can also end the spell whenever we want, and we wake up safe and sound on the ground. So it's a risk that you all have to be completely okay with going in, and I don't want anybody to rush a decision on it at all.
I mean, nothing is without risk, and we were just going to go to the Feywild, and that's a dangerous prospect on its own, so I'm good.
If you were to go with your physical bodies, yes, very much. So this has a bit of a safety net built in, kind of.
Yes, I mean, this would be the first time I've gone to the Feywild like this, but I'm not unfamiliar. It's not something I can control. Sometimes my gods wish to speak to one of us, but
Your gods are in the Feywild?
not in the Feywild, but the projection is... It's never something I've invoked myself, but it's a sensation I think I am familiar with.
Well, if you're all agreed with each other on the risks that this all entails, I have the reagents on hand. thankfully this is a little less cryptic and hard to obtain compared to Gate, the original spell I was thinking about, though I still could cast that one if needed. I can begin work on it, or we can sleep on it, or like I said, it's all up to you.
I think I would prefer if we ensured that I was used as a conduit.
So trying to rewrite the spell somewhat?
If that's what that means.
We
I mean-
have to reshape a few of the runes, which that can be a little dicey.
There's two options. So option one is we reshape the runes. I would think it would be like what, Sonny? Like a week maybe?
It
Some
would take some testing.
Yeah, we'd need to test it. We're not going to fully cast it or anything, but if we knuckle down and get some, if we both combine our tomes and get some paper, and like we'd have to spend about a week, I'm guessing like a week messing with it, we could have a much better shot at it, but it is altering the actual fabric of the spell. But still, Sonny and I think with our heads, we can figure it out. So that'd be a week or so. The other thing is I just try when I cast it to channel it that way.
Which I am thinking that would reduce the strain and redirect some of it to you. Just if it ends up being less efficient, you might be. It is like if you have a vessel that holds like a gallon over here and a gallon over here. You would think that it would be, either way is fine. But if you try to put it in the center, it ends up taking like an extra half.
Okay.
And I hope this doesn't come off as callous, because I don't mean it as callous, but if your mother survived this long, I'm sure a week isn't going to make a difference, or at least I hope it wouldn't. So if you want to wait the week, that is a valid option, and we can work on it. And I'm assuming Fulmar, and like before she could even say Fulmar's name, Fulmar's like, of course, you can all stay. You are welcome here. This is your home as well. And she says, looking at Vander specifically, you can stay as long as needed.
Thanks. I think then maybe we should do the latter, because that seems like it would be less of a strain on our current outside goals as well. In terms of the time we're dedicating to rewriting this, when we could just do it.
No, if you're willing to do that, that makes sense. We have so many things to worry about right now.
Yeah, I'd rather not add to the pile. I'd rather we just do it then, and just hope I get a portion of that conduit idea thing.
Okay, if you're all right with the risk of it. Okay. Fulmar, where is the best place for us to do this? Should we do it down where the old gate is? And Fulmar hesitates for a second and goes, I would say most likely in the living room. We can clear way for it, but it's one of the most defensible areas in the house and comfortable. And I don't think you need physical proximity to the gate. And Scalia just shakes her head and goes, no, it's not going to matter at that point. So, all right, well, you go into this with whatever you're carrying, and I guess most of us already have what we need. Oh, thank God we have time. Well, no, we don't have time.
Could you make me a banishment spell?
Yeah, I can do that.
Yay!
No, I was just thinking about my armor, which is not here. I might see if we can get Cree to bring it, which would take a couple hours probably. But if we're going to do this, I'd much rather have my full suit of armor, because I just have my rapier, and I don't think a skirt and a blouse is really what I want to go into the Feywild with. So
And we'll need some time to trace out all the runes anyway.
we will. So here, hold on a second. And she just like zones out and puts a hand on her temple, and then a moment later just nods. Cree's on their way with my gear and some other supplies. And we can trace the runes, maybe have a conversation about it, see if there's any quick adjustments we want to make. I don't think there will be, but we can try. Actually, I have more sendings too. Is there anything you need from the ship, any of you?
No, I have everything I require.
I think maybe attempt to contact Aaron.
That would probably be better once we're on that plane.
I should.
Its sending doesn't reach quite that far.
Sending can. I mean, sending can reach to the Feywild just fine. There's a small chance the message doesn't arrive. there's about a 5% chance the message doesn't arrive, but you have to remember that I have to be familiar with, I wonder if the fact that half your mother is here in front of me that counts. Probably not. Maybe. You have to be familiar with the individual. So,
There's a description in it? Or
I mean, we have other scrolls too.
yes. I mean, I think that it's a interesting, and not to make light, God, I feel like I'm being such a bitch today, or just the position that my brain is in is whatever. Fulmar, no insult intended, and you can see Fulmar does not look like they care in the slightest, but it's an interesting thought experiment if half a person body is enough to be familiar with them, but I think in my opinion it's not. You should just use a sending scroll and try. Have you ever tried to send your mother before? It could be an interesting experiment, but as Fulmar said, they haven't had a lot of success, and there is the intrinsic chance of sending not working across planes, which is about 5%. But we could try before we leave.
I could attempt.
Yeah, you could. I mean, you sound like you had... Sonny, you said you had scrolls?
Yes, I have about a half dozen of them.
Oh, geez. Yeah, then... And we should keep some of those to talk to Fulmar, too. So, when we're in there. But yes, and she reaches into her bag and pulls out a fresh scroll and a quill and just quickly starts scribbling down. And within a minute or two, has a fresh banishment scroll that she hands to Vander. Did you want multiples for everybody in case I'm not there anymore? Which, I mean, I'm not there anymore. You all probably won't be there anymore, but...
I think the one.
The one? Okay. All right, so then you guys are getting ready to take a trip to the Feywild. So it will take a while for... So the things that are going to happen in order is Fulmar is going to have the rest of the constructs clear out the living room and set up the nicest possible area for astral projection. Skalea is going to start inscribing with chalk on the floor the intricate runes required for astral projection, and then starting to lay out the different reagents, a couple carved bars of silver. I don't know how to say that word, actually, and I'm just some words that I don't know how to say intrinsically. What is that word? It's a flower. Jacinth. It's actually, I think it is a gem. Jacinth? Jacinth or hyacinth is a red to yellow, red-brown variety of zircon used as a gemstone. She has one of those that goes into the middle of it, that is red with kind of a burnt amber around the bottom, it looks like. And so she's going to draw it. Probably would have asked Sonny to be nearby to just advise on it or give any thoughts, kind of thing, even though they're probably not going to be able to alter it at that time.
Oh yeah, no, Sonny's definitely like providing thoughts and even probably helping do some of the inscription and layout, just following directions, because both very interested to potentially participate in the high-level ritual like this, and also just clearly channeling a bunch of nervous energy into staying busy until it's time to project.
Yes. Give me an Arcana check assist roll.
23.
Oh, damn. Nice. All right. So, yeah, Sonny and Sick will work on that. Kree quickly tries to scramble together on the ship to get Skalea's armors together, which is a great comical scene of, Kree struggling with armor, trying to find a bag to put it in, not finding a bag. It's a great scene that I wish I could, paint a picture of. And then eventually Kree gets on the road towards her destination with Skalea's armor and some just other stuff that they grabbed off the ship, kind of in a hurry. Vander and Cass, are you two doing anything during this period? Because it's going to be about, I'd say conservatively 4 to 5 hours, just so Kree has time to get there and everything's not rushed. Sonny and Sick will be done an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most with the careful rune planning.
I have nothing that needs to be done, so I'm just kind of gonna wander the farm a little bit, see the scene.
Okay, just take in the sights. Well, the first thing is going to be obvious to you once you're outside, and because you probably put it together through the conversations, but walking the farm now makes it even more obvious to you just how this farm is massive and should be staffed by many more people. And even though you did see, a mix of elves and drow and other people in the fields working, there's not a ton of them. And closer to the actual main house are a lot of constructs in the field that look a lot like Folsom probably would with their other missing half. And they all have distinct individualistic like runes and markings and even facial shapes and eye color, gem colors and stuff like that. And they all smile and seem very friendly and stuff, but they seem very busy and stretched thin. And there should be many more people here working this farm. And while it is beautiful and tended to, and the smells are amazing, walking around it for about half an hour, you quickly find like a lot of spots, usually kept near the back, it seems, that are starting to die off and aren't being tended well. And it looks like over the years, they probably lost a decent amount of fields that have just been turned to kind of lawn, or have had buildings hastily put over them to hide the fact that they've lost so much of their fields. So it definitely seems like Fulmar wasn't under exaggerating how tough it's been since everything happened, and how most of the family was probably killed or went elsewhere, and most of the place has been left in their hands. So, but it's still nice. The parts of it that they're taking care of are nice. It smells wonderful, and it is kind of a beautiful sight to behold, nestled in this beautiful, idyllic Quandir Valley. So,
I'm gonna go to like one of the slightly weathering patches
Mhm.
and just like burn a bunch of druid craft into it to like bring it.
yeah, you can burn a ton of it, and yeah, it responds immediately to it, and you're able to, on some of the ones where it just looks like they haven't been watered in a while and they're kind of getting sunburned, you're able to kind of restore and revitalize a large portion of it. So you can stay busy doing that outside for a bit, but definitely has an impact. They could benefit from having someone like you around. Josenth is how Sleepy said to say it. That is. I'm sure I'm butchering it now because that just sounds wrong. Josenth. Yeah, I'm just not. Sometimes I can't pronounce words. I'm sorry. Vander, are you doing anything in particular during this time?
He'd probably be helping it however he can. There's limited knowledge of the arcane. Since it is astral projection, I guess he would assist in the way a monk would.
Okay. Is he meditating or going to meditate beforehand at all?
Yeah, sure.
So maybe off to the side meditating for a bit? Okay. Well, as the sun slowly moves through the Gwandir sky, eventually 1 hour, 2 hour, 3, 4, and then right as about 5 is about to pass, a very exhausted Kree crests the hill and meets up with you all. Excited to see you, of course. Crestfallen to hear about the family issues and that it wasn't a super happy reunion, but still glad that there's a plan. Glad to be there and help. And delivers all of Skalea's armor, which she quickly runs off to another. Once her and Sonny are confident that they've done the best that they can for astral projection in its current form, she'd duck off to a room and change from her sort of white skirt and light blouse and sandals back into her silver knight armor. And the Skalea that exits the room is much more like the one that you originally met, where she's plate armored head to toe. Well, she doesn't have a helmet on right now, but otherwise. And her rapier is back on her waist. And as the sun begins to set on your first day in Quandir, you're getting down to business. This isn't going to be Orishire 2.0. We're just making things happen. You're ready for the ritual. So Skalea confirms that she goes over it again and then again, even though she's in armor, kind of clinking and clanking a little bit around as she double checks everything. But eventually, I don't think there's anything else I can do. I think we're ready.
I'll send that sending really quick.
Have you been thinking about what 25 words you're going to send?
It's not going to be 25 words. I'm going to make it simple as
Okay.
possible. Am I doing that? Oh, okay. Words are, hello, Mom. I'm coming to get you. That's it.
Roll a D100 for me. With better luck than you've had tonight.
4. 100.
Seriously?
I don't know if that's good or not.
Oh, damn. I like how you saved all that dice luck for that. Say what? Yeah, do you know how to read a D100? Okay. Because I don't have the time, but I have to look it up because it's stupid. Is this the first time, canonically, that Vander has cast Sending? I don't know if he's used one of the Sending scrolls yet, right?
Canonically. First time.
First time. Okay. Is it Vander's first time casting a scroll?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Okay. Well, he can unfurl one of the scrolls that Sonny provides and just kind of read the language that's on there, read the inscription that's on there. And as soon as you finish, the whole scroll evaporates in just a cloud of like white smoke, and your vision disassociates ever so slightly as you say the words, and you feel them kind of echo off into the distance, and you immediately feel that they landed on their target, just somehow on the inside. And oh, I wasn't expecting that you were gonna get her. Shit. I have to think of 25 words or what I'm gonna do for that. Oh my god, Vander, I can't believe it's you. Are you all right? I miss you so much. You need to be careful because she was excited.
That's funny.
So that hits you all of a sudden as you say what you said, and you just kind of feel like the message reached, and then all of a sudden, and it just hits you.
She answered.
You got through?
I did.
That's wonderful.
How many scrolls of that do we have? Because I don't want to use
I have 5 more.
May I use one more? This
Yes, of course.
Let's see how well this goes.
Roll a D100.
Okay. 11.
I mean, it's only a 5% chance of failure.
It is only a 5% chance of failure. So what are you going to say this time?
I'm okay. Where are you in the fic? I love.
You don't feel so sure about this one. You still feel the words kind of vanish off into the ether. You feel the message was sent. Not a feeling of rejection or anything, but you just kind of feel like you're on hold for a few moments, and you feel dizzy and kind of sick on your feet. But then all of a sudden, some more words rush to you. Not as clear as last time, but you can still make them out. And the voice goes, sorry, let me check one detail. I don't want to misspeak because I'm sure you're going to write it down. All right. So the words rush back to you. And this time you can still sense how excited and happy and overwhelmed with joy she is, but she's trying to control her words more this time. I'm all right for now. I'm near the dark woods next to the ruins of the Fey Court. Small encampment of people who are friendly, love you.
Cool.
What did you say?
Her location, she's by the dark woods by a ruin of the Fey Court in a little camp.
Let's see. Well, that is something to look for.
Gives us a place to start.
No, sorry, I just realized something. Never mind. We're gonna move on with that because the DM made connections of not something else.
The DM might have caught up with what I was just realizing.
Well, no, the DM knows all about that. The DM was that stuff. No, I just made another realization that is a massive oversight. Anyway, you'll find out soon. So. Well, that's really good. Did she sound happy to hear your voice?
Yes. So with the astral projection, does it like take us to anywhere specific, or does it depend on how we're channeling it, or?
It takes us to. The best way to think of it is, even though it's not a 1-for-1, and it is kind of a shitty example, the basic children's story idea of it is all of the different planes are on top of each other and squished together. So if you're standing here on Akorah, you're standing somewhere in the Feywild, technically. So astral projection sends us to this location in the Feywild, give or take a little bit. And we could go do this, like, we could have done it on the gate and been exactly where that is, but who knows what's on the other side of that snarl is kind of the reason why I didn't suggest it, especially after Sonny was talking more about it. So we will be deposited in the Feywild here in the Feywild. So we don't have a lot of control over it. Who knows how far the Fey Court is, or the ruins of the Fey Court, or this Dark Forest is, but at least we'll be there and we can start asking questions.
Okay.
It's been so long. Your mother could have traversed a long distance in that time, or she could have not moved far at all.
So to find out.
We do. All right. Well, let's do this then. Anything else? Anybody last minute things?
How long does astral projection last?
Technically until it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
It's one of those weird spells where it doesn't have a duration at all. It's just as long as we are in there and that I mean, technically, even if I stepped out, I think you all would have the choice to end it. It's a little fuzzy, but we can choose to end it, or we get kicked out forcibly, or we die. So we're not on a time limit, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, cool. I am ready to be your conduit.
We'll see how it
Yes,
works.
I can be.
Well, so here's how it's going to go. And she kind of like points the massive circle in the living room that's been chalked up by her and Sonny. I made one slight adjustment to it, which is really not an adjustment. It's more of a freeform thing, so I don't think it's not going to negate in a bad way. But you'll notice that there are circles on the ground for each of you to sit in. And I craft the number of circles based on the number of participants. This is part of how the spell works. So it's going to be me here at the northernmost point. And then I'm going to have Sonny and Cass. And then I put yours in front of me in line with the rest of the runes, which typically you put them all on the outside, but it doesn't affect the flow of the arcane energy at all. But that would be the best that I could do to try and make you a conduit. We can try holding hands or a hand too. It shouldn't affect it either way, but if we're really banking on your theory, might as well try it.
What's up?
So if you all want to just take a seat, however is most comfortable, definitely there's been a whole bunch of pillows and different things laid out, including blankets by Fulmar and the others. Take them and use them, because when you come back to your body, your poor body will have been sitting there for however long we're gone. So I would highly advise a pillow under your ass, maybe a blanket over your shoulders. If you want to build a whole little thing, do it. Because if we're gone for a week or so and you jolt back into your body, you're going to not be able to move. You're going to be so sore if you're just sitting there hunched over. So things to think about. And after saying that, she awkwardly does, like, she tries to get down to the cross legs, like meditation pose in plate armor. And her plate armor is elvish plate armor, so it has high flexibility, but it's still kind of funny to see her do it. And she grabs the pillow, puts it under her butt, so it's kind of like a more structured meditation pose. And she throws a blanket over her plate armored shoulders. And yeah, waits for everybody else to get in position. Everybody has all their armor, weapons, everything else, full inventories. Cool.
Yep.
And a pillow under the butt.
And a pillow under the butt. It's the best way to meditate. Though I did discover, now the DM's going to go on a tangent, I did discover something recently where apparently if you have trouble sitting up straight, like most of us do, sitting on the edge of a chair and fully extending your legs forces your back to go straight. And it's the funniest thing where if you scoot to the edge of your chair and put your butt on the edge and then stick your legs forward and cross them kind of thing, it makes you have a good posture. And it's really nice for like meditating and stuff. So FYI, fun random facts with your DM. All right, take care because James just asked, or James said, now I wonder how time differential works when you do the astral projection, if there is any. Your mother's 200 years old now. 200 years older. All right, so everybody takes position. And then after kind of like glancing over, making sure that you've all had time to settle, Sick takes a deep breath and she like looks around for a second and then she's like, oh, God, I hate armor. And eventually she comes up with the idea of taking her rapier off and holding that out for you to grab, because it's not really practical to reach hand to hand, especially with plate, because it kind of limits the mobility a little bit. But it connects you two, technically. And then she just closes her eyes and takes a couple deep breaths and then goes, well, I hope I see you all on the other side, and this should be quick. It's going to take me about a minute or so to cast it, and then if it works, we're there, and if we're not, we're here. So just close your eyes, think happy thoughts, and think think happy, light, floaty thoughts. Think astral projection thoughts, whatever that means to you. All right. So she closes her eyes, and she starts muttering under her breath, and those of you that speak Elvish, which I assume is... but do you either of you know Elvish? Okay. You do? Okay. So you both hear... well, all of you hear Skalea speaking Elvish. The two of you follow it, though it's the nonsensical stuff that spellcasters tend to say. It's, the spellcasting language. It's just being done in Elvish. You do catch a reference to Distute here and there, scattered in there. But most of it seems pretty clinical. And near the end of the minute, you all feel this kind of warm vibration start to build up underneath in the floorboards, and you witness the chalk lines going from powdery white to bright fluorescent white, and the gem in the middle starts to glow in otherworldly red and orange, and the little bars of silver and all the other reagents kind of melt for a moment and turn into liquid and vanish into the floor, actually vanishing into the runes, but it looks like they melt into the floor, and all of your vision starts to go faintly pink. Not white, not black, just faintly pink at the edges of your vision. And your vision starts to tunnel and fade as the spell is cast, and the glow of the astral projection rune continues. Vander, you notice that Skalea's rapier, while it does have a glow to it, it's sheathed, but it begins to glow the color of the actual conduit, which is kind of that white color. And you do feel, you would have no frame of reference, but you do feel like the effects are pretty strong on you right now. Based on the magic that you've been hit by before in combat, or that you felt otherwise, it does feel pretty oppressive, and you feel yourself almost, your broad shoulders kind of be pulled down almost a little bit under the weight of something. So maybe it's working for you. Maybe that's how you're experiencing the spell. Roll a perception check for me.
That's an 18.
Oh, okay. He can roll high numbers. As your vision does the same as everybody else's and begins to fade, I assume you're looking at Skalea?
Yeah, he's trying to steal himself, so he's looking at her.
Yeah, I figured. So, as you look, your vision turns pink at the edges and then white and starts to kind of tunnel vision, and you feel this weight bearing down on you. And you look at Skalea, and Skalea is wreathed in this white, pinkish kind of energy. And due to your special kind of aura sight as well, you see in this moment that there is kind of a stormy dark blue element around her as well. You don't know if this is her personal aura or not, but it could be fey magic, whatever. It doesn't seem to be bad. It's just another thing that you see. Her hair is blowing in the wind that's being created from this. Her eyes are closed, squinting shut at this point because she's so focused on everything. And you notice in that moment the thing that the DM forgot, Skalea forgot, and everybody else forgot as she's casting the spell. Say what? I'm super curious if you think it's the same thing. You notice that there's streams of blood from both her nostrils pouring down over her face because of the recent damage that she's sustained multiple times with powerful spells.
I thought this was going to be an issue with the other conduit. I took it into consideration.
Nope, Skalea legitimately forgot about it in the heat of everything, being flirted with and everything else. And she just forgot the whole, brain being gutted by that spell and how the ghost, the events in Hawkesbury and everything. So you see Skalea with blood going down, dribbling down her face. And as soon as it hits, as soon as it goes over her lips, her eyes snap open because she feels it. And she takes the hand that's not on the rapier and goes like that to smear the blood and look at it. Looks at the blood, looks at you. You see part of a big streak of her hair go gray in that moment, like silver gray, and that's what we're gonna call it for tonight. I get a real cliffhanger.
I was gonna say if I could do anything.
What do you do?
To like force the conduit onto me.
Yeah.
Through some sort of, since I'm an astral fist.
Yeah.
I force it to me somehow. Is there any way I could do that?
Possibly. It depends on what you'd really try to do in the moment. Because, like, yeah, you have Astral Fist. You have used that before. You've never really used it in a case like this. So it becomes more of a tell a story with me. Like, what's the kind of way that Vander would try and do something as... Because what happens is you all lose your vision right at that moment. And your vision just kind of gets overwhelmed with that bright pink and white mixed together. And you lose your vision. And that's where we're going to cut it. But if you can think of something that you'd like to do...
So here's what I'm thinking. As an astral self monk, he has a sort of from the description alone, it sort of alludes to the spirit that they embody is like it's their own spirit that they can manifest into like a physical power. And so, and he thankfully has the vices of astral self now. I don't think I would be able to like consider this idea otherwise without it.
I agree.
So he has something called Wisdom of the Spirit, and also, well, no, that's actually it. The other stuff I don't think would be applicable here, but Wisdom of the Spirit, mechanically, it gives him advantage in Wisdom and Charisma, and then the Vices of Astral Self, mechanically, for him, it can do a number of things, but he summons it. That's a good, like, media comparison. Nothing I can really think of, but it like
I still get the overall idea, but
it would sort of be like a physical manifestation of his entire being, and mechanically he can like grab things with it. I was thinking he could grab the spiritual tether between her and him and pull it to him.
You go into the avatar state.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's play with this for a second. So if Vander tried, because this is all happening in less than a split second, if Vander did that in that brief moment, he would be granted a sort of more of the astral sight that he's used to. And if time stood still for that 1 second in that astral state, you would see like an astral sauna, you would see an astral cast, you would see like a faint magically colored outline of them defining their astral self that is being projected in that moment. Each of them kind of tinted the color that their magic's usually tinted and stuff like that. So in that moment, you would be in this weird altered state of being out of time, seeing all of them being astrally projected, seeing the rune connecting everything. God, seeing it all connected and stuff. And there is a line between Skellige and everyone. So you could reach over and grab the line and attempt to try and like dump power into it, do something with it. If you pull on it, you probably would actually pull like Skellige's physical or most likely the astral part of her to you. That could have risk inherent with it, but it kind of sounds like to me that that's what you described. I don't know if that's what you want to do, because if you yanked on that, you might end up with astral Skellige in your arms kind of thing, which could be a good or a bad thing. This isn't your kind of magic.
I think that is, sort of what I'm going for. It's, he doesn't want to take the tethers from those two, but he wants to take her tether.
Yes.
Into him.
Yes.
So if that is what it would be, then he would do it.
I would say in that moment, what Vander would probably understand and what would most likely play out is, there's no way you're breaking their tethers, and you're not going to hurt anybody, or you're not going to hurt them. But there is just a line directly between you two because of the rapier. And if your astral self reached over and tugged on it, it's really just going to pull her into a hug kind of thing. And there would be that closeness of the astral self. So you could try that.
Yeah, because my thought process of that is if her spirit is in my arms as a spirit, though her tethers from those two go to him instead.
Yes, no, I get it. Yeah, no, it's like literally you're forcing it, whether the spell wants it or not, that any power going either way has to go through you because your astral forms are in physical contact. So yes.
Yes, I would like to do
Want
that.
to do that? Okay. Unbeknownst to everybody in that moment, except Skalea on some level, though she's probably not super aware of it right now in the freak out moment. So yeah, you see her, blood streaming from her nose. She snaps her eyes open and wipes it and looks up at you as part of her hair, like a flock. What's the name?
Lock.
Thank you. A lock of hair, a flock of hair. A lock of hair goes silver gray all of a sudden, and then without thinking, off instinct, you use your astral self to do that as everything snaps to bright white with pink with everybody else. Roll a perception check, though, considering that you went into an astral form.
Okay.
Oh, heck yes. 16.
So, as all that happened in that split second, you are aware out of something of the corner of your eye where, you know, your focus was just get sick, do something, help her, make sure they're okay. And in that moment, the last thing that you really remember thinking after you have her is, who's that? And you realize that there's another person in the ritual.
Who the fuck?
You don't see a physical body, but you see an astral self of somebody off in the corner of your eye that is in the ring with you all. And you go,
Describe it.
it's a... I mean, what was your...
Next week.
Yeah, what was your perception roll?
Not 17. 16. All right.
16? I mean, that's above a 15 DC, which is, you know, a decently hard one, but like with what you saw out of the corner of your eye and the fact that you focused on saving sick, like you just see a body, and it's somebody that's standing, though. They didn't sit. So, but they're standing, and you're pretty sure it's not Kree. Pretty sure it's not Kree. That's all I'm going to say. But yes, tune in next week. So I got to do a cliffhanger. I haven't done one that dramatic in a long time. That felt nice. Thank you all for tuning in tonight and hanging out with us during our nerdy adventures here on Prismatic Dragonfly Tavern. Hope you had fun, because I hope we did. I did. I had fun. I hope everybody else had fun. We will be back next Sunday, most likely, at 6 p.m. 7 p.m. PST as the DM. I'm just too excited about the cliffhanger now. I'm thinking thoughts. We'll be back next Sunday, 7 p.m. PST for the next episode of Prismatic Dragonfly Tavern. In the meantime, check out RageCon.com if you're interested in coming to a massive TTRPG, board game, card game, etc. convention that we will be back at here in Sparks, Nevada at the end of the month, June 30th to July 2nd, and you can check it out at RageCon.com. In the meantime, please stick around for a few minutes while we wrap the stream up, because we're going to hop off here, but we will raid another similar community here. And if you can just stick along for a few minutes, give them a follow, say hi to them. Maybe you just discovered another new favorite streamer of yours, and it just helps us pass the love along. We love getting raids, and we love giving raids. So have a great Pride Month. Have a great week. We hopefully will see you back here on Sunday. Check out RageCon.com and hang out for a few minutes for the raid. In the meantime, have a great night, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, we got our first tip, too.